Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. This is Learn to Sew with Noni. So guys, in today's tutorial I'll be learning how to make a raincoat for kids. Okay, and you can also use this method to make for an adult. It's rainy season and I see kids going to school and coming back with the rain drenching them so badly. So I thought to make a raincoat tutorial so that we can all learn how to make it, and you can as well turn it into a business. It's quite lucrative now that the rainy season is here. So you need to get a trampoline like fabric. I love this fabric so much because it is light, it is not heavy, and it's like cotton fabric, but at the same time it doesn't allow water to penetrate inside. It's just like trampoline, but it's like cotton. I don't know if you get what I mean. It's like trampoline or like something that is waterproof, but at the same time it feels like cotton material. So I got it for 200 naira a yard at a popular market in Aba, Lamfodio market, where you can find all kinds of materials and fabrics. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to rub the water in, but yet it can't penetrate into the fabric. So that's the kind of fabric you need to make a raincoat. That way when the rain comes on the fabric or on the raincoat, it doesn't penetrate. So it came in a long 100 yards of fabric, and it's quite dirty with the dust and everything in the market. So I couldn't dry clean the whole 100 yards of fabric. So each one I cut, I'll dry clean after sewing, so that way it's easier than dry cleaning the whole 100 yards. So I folded my fabric into two along the length of the fabric. Okay, then I'm folding into another two along the width of the fabric. Now what I want to do is to cut the front and the back at the same time, so that's why I folded along the length of the fabric. Okay, because I want a length of 33 inches. So along the length of the fabric, folding into two gave me the 33 inches plus additional 2 inches for my hemming allowance. So that's why I folded into two. Otherwise, if you can't get that measurement or the required measurement you want, just fold into two and take the measurement you want. But folding this along the length gave me my seam allowance included with my length of gown, right? So that's why I folded like so. So I've marked 33 plus 2 inches seam allowance. I'll just go cut that out so that we'll have our working pattern. Yeah, so also remember that I also folded along the length of the fabric. Okay, that's because I want to cut the front and the back at the same time. Please remember this and note why I folded the way I did. Now afterwards, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches along the length of the fabric, and this would be my zip allowance. I'm going to have a zipper in front. Okay, so that's why I'm adding my 1.5 inches zip allowance. So I'll just go ahead and connect the line into a straight line. Then afterwards, I'm making this for a 3-year-old, 3 years 6 months old. So, but instead of using her measurements, I'm going to be increasing it a little bit. Now on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark her shoulder. Her shoulder is 11 inches, but I'm marking 12 inches. Okay, so 12 divided by 2, that's 6. So I've marked 6 plus half, and that's 6.5. Now the neck width I'm using is 3 by 3 for the front. Okay, 3 inches width and 3 inches depth. So you can see I'm increasing the measurement a little bit. So I also mark her shoulder slope of half inch and then connect it to the neckline. Then afterwards, I'll come down by 6 inches for my armhole. Right, so on the armhole, I'm also going to mark the shoulder measurements there and connect. Then go up by 1 inch, then curve out my armhole. Then afterwards, I'm going to mark her chest measurement. Her chest measurement is 22 inches, but I'm going to be using 30 inches. Okay, so I've marked 30 divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. So I added extra allowance to it. Her chest is 22, but I made it 30 inches. So exactly the same thing I'm going to mark at the length and also add 3 inches to it, just to flare it out a little bit so that it doesn't restrict movement. Okay, so back to what I was saying, you don't use your exact body measurements when making a raincoat, especially for a school child. One, the backpack the child is going to carry is going to take part of the trampoline. You can see when they wear their backpack or when they carry their backpack behind, it's going to protrude. Okay, taking part of the raincoat. So if you make it exactly the body measurement, it's not going to accommodate the person's backpack. And what's the point of having a raincoat and you come back and your books are drenched? All right, so for the back neck width, I used 1 inch for the back neck depth. Right, so I'm just going to take away the back right now. This right here is the back. Okay, so I'll keep the front aside. Now remember, I added 1.5 inches zip allowance, but the back is not going to have any zip allowance. Okay, so I'm going to take out 1 inch from there. I added 1.5 inches zip allowance. I'll take out 1 inch, then use the remaining half inch to couple, to just sew along the length of that zip allowance area. Okay, just to hold the back together, hold it into one pattern. Okay, so I'm cutting out 1 inch. Remember, I added 1.5 inches zip allowance, so I'm cutting out 1 inch, which is an excess on the back. Then the remaining half inch, I'll use it to join. Now this is not a waist. I'm going to use it to make the piping for the hoodie. Okay, the drawstring for the hoodie. So this is the back pattern. Remember, I have half inch, so I'll use that half inch to join the back together, so it will become one pattern as it's supposed to be. Now back to the front, I folded everything together. Then I'll go trim out my neckline. Okay, so go ahead and trim out your neckline, not your zip allowance, then you slide it or slash it open. All right, so if you know how to make a basic dress, you can basically make this trampoline. All right, so we'll move to cutting the sleeve. I folded my sleeve into four. Okay, I folded my fabric into four, just so I can cut the front and the back at the same time. So I'll mark the cap height of 4 inches. Her cap height is 3, but I'm marking 4 because I need to have an excess, because it's a trampoline. So I've marked the sleeve length plus 2 inches hemming allowance. Now you need to measure your armhole circumference, okay, so that you have that in mind when you're drafting your sleeve. So when I measured mine, I got 9 inches. So I'm just going to keep that at the back of my mind. Then I make a slanted line from the cap height, from the head of the sleeve to the end of the fabric. Then I measure it and mark the midpoint. Then come down by half inch. Then you shape your sleeve head. Guys, I have a tutorial on my channel on how to make a basic sleeve. Okay, I also drop the link to that video in the description box, but this should suffice if you want to make a sleeve, right? So now after making this, I'm going to measure it to be sure it corresponds with what I measured on my armhole. So I got 9 inches when I measured my armhole. Now measuring this cap head or this sleeve head, I have exactly 9 inches. So it's going to fit into my raincoat. All right, so at the hemline or at the bottom of the sleeve, I'm not going to take a round armhole. I'm going to use exactly what I have as the width of the fabric down there, okay, because it's not supposed to be fitted, like I said. So this is the sleeve. Now go to coupling the raincoat together. So what I'm going to do first is to join the back or couple the back. Remember, I added half inch at the back just to couple it together. So I'm just going to bring it together, make sure that right side face right side. Although this is a trampoline or it's a trampoline like fabric, so it doesn't really have right side or wrong side. So any side you decide is just your, is what you call it. So this is half inch. I'm going to use this half inch, just couple the back together to get one whole fabric like so. Yeah, so guys, if you are new here, I love you so much. Welcome to my channel. This is Let's Sew with Noni, and here on this channel I upload sewing tutorials every week. I've not been consistent for a while, but I post sewing tutorials, so please try to check out my other videos. I'm sure you would see something that you like. And if you're a returning subscriber, you're a returning viewer, I got much much love for you. I love you so much. Thank you for the support, the love you showed me here. I really appreciate. Right, so this is the back pattern, and I have one pattern as the back. So we'll go over to get the front. Then I'll get the front pattern and match the shoulder lines together. Okay, so this is the front. Okay, so you open it up, then get the back pattern, place right side facing right side. Remember, any part can be your right side. So what we need to do is to join the shoulder seam. So I'll place the right side of the back to face the right side of the front. Then I'll match up the shoulder area. Then I'll go and hold or sew in my shoulder seam. Okay, so whatever I've done here, I'll do the same thing to the other side. Okay, that's what I've just done. You can see I've held my shoulder. Now the next thing will be to take your body measurement or the in seam. Right, so I added sewing allowance of 2.5 inches. Okay, so just go ahead and sew down with the same allowance that you added, just like that. Right, so whatever seam allowance you added, just go ahead and sew it down. Right, so we've done that. So the next thing would be to hem the bottom of the sleeve. Sorry, the bottom of the dress or the raincoat. Okay, so just open it up. I remember we added 2 inches for the hemming allowance, so I'm just going to fold in 1 inch first, like so, then fold in again to complete our 2 inches hemming allowance. So 1 inch first, then another 1 inch, like so. That's how to fold in. Okay, so this is beginner friendly, very beginner please. I'm sure you would enjoy this. Okay, I'm following it step by step. So you can also pin it down just to help you hold it down. Then you go ahead and hem the bottom of your dress or your raincoat. Right, so afterwards you're going to get your zipper and install the zipper. After hemming, the next thing will be to install the zipper, but I know some of us already know how to install zippers, so I'm just going to take that part, you know so I'm not going to show exactly the fixing part. So this is the zipper. I got a long zip because I want it to zip up from the front to from the top to bottom. I want the zip to go from top to bottom, not like Nigeria top to bottom, but so that it can open up as a jacket. So this is me fixing my zipper. So you're going to face the zipper downwards. Okay, the right side of the zipper will face the fabric, then you go and sew in. Okay, so I should make a tutorial on how to attach zippers, but if you don't know how to do that, please in the comment section indicate so that I can make a tutorial on how to fix in your zipper. Right, so this is me. I'm done fixing the zipper. I'll go ahead and fix the sleeve. Okay, so I also hope you know how to fix a sleeve, but just like it's a tutorial and I want you to know exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to fix in the sleeve. So you're going to get one part of the sleeve and you're going to fold the hemline. Remember, I left 2 inches for hemming the sleeve, so just like we hemmed the raincoat itself, I'm going to fold 1 inch into two places and hem the bottom of my sleeve. Do the same thing for the other side. Then this is my shoulder line, okay, where I join the shoulder together. Then I'm going to match it up with the midpoint of my sleeve, okay, at the cap head or at the sleeve head. I'm going to pin it down, then attach the sleeve to the raincoat all round, like so. You can see how I'm doing it. Just gently sew it all the way round. Right, then you move to the other side and do the same thing. Right, so afterwards we're going to now couple this together. Okay, attach, fix the, close the opening. So I'm going to open my zipper area, as you can see. So when you open the zipper area, you're going to now take your measurement. So you can see this, the sewing, the stitching that held the side of my raincoat. Okay, you can see the stitch line, so just follow it all the way down, like so, just to close the side of your sleeve. Right, so remember I added 2 inches allowance, so I'm just going to sew all the way down. When I get to the length of the sleeve, I'm going to mark 2 inches, which is the seam allowance. Around that point, I'll mark it down and sew till I get to the end of the sleeve. So that's how you couple your sleeve. Right, so that's done. You can see, so the sleeve is fixed. Once you just fix the sleeve, just fold it back into the wrong side and continue your stitching. So that's how to fix in your sleeve. Right, so you'll go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. So the next thing will be left would be to cut our hoodie. All right, so I know most of us are waiting for this point. Yay, I'm excited for that part too. So once you know how to do this, you can attach a hoodie to any type of dress, a blouse, whatever you're making. So this is what we have. Really beautiful. I like the combination of blue and pink, and it's for a baby girl. So right, so I'm cleaning it out. So after sewing, I want to clean it so that it looks really nice, although I'll still dry clean so that it doesn't give the baby any skin diseases. These trampolines have been spread down on the floor in the market. The place is more, there is so much more. Do you know how markets are now? So please, if you get this type of trampoline, make sure that after sewing you dry clean, please. Or you tell your clients, please wash it before you wear it on your child. So I'm gonna measure around the neckline. Okay, before for us to draft or cut out our hoodie, you take a measuring tape from the center back. You're going to measure all round the neckline. Okay, so just going to measure around your neckline. You can start from the zip area and measure around. So when I measured, I got 17 inches, just the same way we measure our neckline when we want to cut a collar. All right, so the hoodie length I'm using is 13 inches. So I'm marking 13 inches from the length of the pattern paper to the upper part. So this is 13 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and square it out or rule out the line. So for an adult, you can use between 15 to 17 inches, but for a child, 13 inches is okay. You can also use 14 inches if it's for maybe an 8-year-old or 10-year-old. Okay, so but for teenagers, you can use about 15, 16, and adult 17, 18. Right. So you need your neckline circumference. So after, you know, attaching your sleeve, you're going to measure around your neckline. So when I measured, I got 17 inches. So I'm going to divide that by 2 and I have 8.5. Right. I'm dividing by 2 because this pattern paper is folded into 2. You can see it. It's folded into 2. So I'm going to add 1 inch, 1 inch sewing allowance to that's 9.5. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 9.5 inches. So the width of whatever fabric I'm going to fold, if I was working directly on my fabric, I'm going to fold my fabric with 9.5 inches. So because I'm working on a pattern paper, I can actually just mark fold anything I want, but this is 9.5. So I'm marking 9.5 inches across the length of my hoodie. Okay, so 9.5 inches is whatever I'm going to fold. Right, so I'm just going to mark that 9.5 inches, square it out and cut it out just so that it doesn't confuse you or you'll be wondering what's with the excess paper and all the rest. Okay, so initially I had already cut this directly on my trampoline. I had to make this particular video now at home, this part of the video at home. Okay, the part of the hoodie, and then to draft it on paper so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so I had already drafted on my trampoline. Right, so I'm just cutting that out. So what I have as the length of this paper is 13 inches and the width is 9.5. Okay, so we're going to start drafting now. You can see I have 9.5. So I'm going to mark the midpoint of this 9.5. You can see how I folded my tape to get the midpoint at the upper part. I would also do the same thing at the lower part. Okay, so I'll do the same thing at the lower part. This is 9.5. I'm also going to make sure I get the midpoint of 9.5. Then I'll also make a mark at that point. Alright, so I'm going to mark the midpoint as well. Right, so we have the midpoint for both up and down. Right, so at the upper part, I'm going to come down by 1.5. Okay, towards this side, I'm going to come down by 1.5 towards the open side of the pattern paper. Then towards the folded part, I'm coming down by 2 inches. So this is 2 inches, this is 1.5. You can see. So I'm going to make a curve like so. Let this curve meet the midpoint, and from that point I'll also bring it down to this other side. Right, so this is how I'm covering the upper part. This is the hoodie, the part that the head would be on. Now this lower part, I'm coming up by 1 inch. Then from the midpoint, I'll slant like so, just like you slant your collar when you're making your collars for your shirts. Okay, so remember I went up by 1 inch by that side. So this part that I went up by 1 inch would be the part that will sit on the neckline. Then this upper part is the hoodie, okay, where the head would be, the part that will cover the head, okay, or the cap. The lower part will be the part that would sit on your neckline. So you need to notch it out so that when you cut out your pattern, you don't have make the mistake of attaching the lower part to the upper part. Just mixing it up. Right, so you want to make sure that you make a notch at that point, and whenever you cut on your fabric, also transfer the same notch to your fabric. Right, so we have our hoodie. This is what your hoodie looks like. I'm also going to go ahead and cut this upper part. Remember, at the folded area you need to have 2 inches. At the part that is not folded, you need to have 1.5, just so that you can curve the hoodie. So this is what it looks like. Now when I want to sew, let me open it up so you can see it's on fold. So when I want to sew, I'll start sewing from at least 2 inches or 2.5 inches above where my neckline will sit. Then you can see, just like you want to sew a dart, just sew ½ inch like so all around. You can see. So just go ahead and sew it like so. Right, so we'll go to the sewing machine to continue. So this is my hoodie. I've cut it on my trampoline fabric. You can see. So I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. This is the wrong side of my fabric, right? And the notch that I have made at the lower part has indicated that this part is the lower part. So I'm going to start sewing. Remember I said start sewing from 2 or 2.5 inches away from where you have that notch. You don't want to tamper with the seam allowance or any allowance at that lower part that you attach to your neckline. So you don't want to tamper with any allowance at that point. So that's why I'm starting from around 2 inches or 2.5, just anything above that notch, 1 inch, 1.5 above that notch is okay, just so that you don't tamper with any seam allowance you may have at that point. So just start sewing it and gradually moving your seam allowance to 1/2 inch, then sew around the curve. You can actually do 0.25 is actually okay. You can see, so I'm done sewing the curve. Then you can go ahead and notch it all around. Okay, go on and notch it. If you want to iron, you can also iron, but make sure you use your iron is not hot. It's going to melt the trampoline fabric. Okay, so make sure that your iron is not hot. Right, so I've notched it all round like so. So we have our hoodie. Right, so when I open it, you can see this is your hoodie. And for whatever reason it's just not capturing. All right, so you can see this is your hoodie and this is for a child. This is for a 3-year-old, so the head would fit into this hoodie. Now what you would do is to match the midpoint, that part you notched, you're going to match it up with the center back. Okay, so that's why I made sure that I joined the center back, so that joining at the center back would be an indication to where you will start attaching your hoodie from. Right, so from that notch, let it match the center back, okay, where you join the back from. Okay, that way you don't have to start looking for where the midpoint of your back pattern is. Okay, so from there you join it all around. Then when you get to where your zipper is, remember I added 1 inch seam allowance. I'm going to fold 1/2 inch into 2. Okay, you're going to fold 1/2 inch into 2. That's why I added that 1 inch seam allowance. So just fold 1/2 inch into 2, then place it right after your zipper teeth. Okay, right after the teeth of your zipper. Then you go ahead and pin it down, then sew it all around. So that's what you do. Fix the collar, the hoodie, the midpoint of the hoodie, okay, to the back, center back. Then do the same thing to the other side. Then you can go ahead and cut out the excess on the zipper area. So you can see I've fixed the hoodie. It's really easy to fix. Okay, just fix it around the neckline. Then when you get to the zipper area, you fold in. You can see the fold I have there. I'm going to continue that fold and use it to hem the upper part of my hoodie all round. You can see. So you can see that fold I have there, that's 1/2 inch in 2 places, is also going to be my seam allowance to hem the hoodie. Okay, and it's also going to be where I'm going to pass in my drawstring. Now the neckline, you can also decide to fold it into 2. You can also decide to use a bias tape to knitting it out. You can also decide to overlock the joining at the neckline. Okay, the joining where you attach the hoodie to the neckline, you can fold it into 2. You can use a bias tape to knitting it out, or you can also overlock. Now remember that piece of fabric that we cut out from the back pattern. So I'm removing 1/2 inch from it and I'm going to use it as my drawstring. Right, so I'm going to fold 1/2 inch to this side, 1/2 inch to the other side, then fold it together. I'll then go and sew. Right, so after sewing, that would be the drawstring. I'm going to fix it to my hoodie. Now when you are hemming the hoodie, make sure that you don't start exactly from the neckline. Okay, just give like 1 inch space so that you would have allowance to fix in your drawstring. So this is me making the piping for my drawstring, like so. So fold 1/2 inch into 2 places, then fold again. Okay, so that's as you're sewing, please don't mind that hand. There are about 5 or 6 persons watching the sewing tutorial of this video. All right, so they're all behind the camera watching everything we're doing. Right, so just keep folding like so. to make your drawstring. So our drawstring is ready. You need to get a safety pin, okay? So remember I said when you're hemming your hoodie, don't hem it to the exact end. Leave around 1 inch so that you can pass in the drawstring from there. So on the two sides, leave around 1 inch, okay, so that you can pass your drawstring. So you can see I'm using my safety pin to pass the drawstring into the hemming of the hoodie. So that's why you need to hem your hoodie. All right, so just put it into it and pull it out from the other side. You can see. So if this hoodie is too big for the child, you can always use the drawstring to pull it to the original size of the child. Okay, so that's why you add a drawstring to your hoodie, right? So you can see what my raincoat looks like. Guys, it's really beautiful. I enjoyed making this tutorial. I enjoyed few minutes. I enjoyed every part of it, and the fact that I made it for my little one is also very, very heartwarming and fulfilling. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. All right, so this is what it looks like. You can use a drawstring, and this is how madam back from school, and for whatever reason I hadn't even ironed. I started reading. I was like, okay, we have to launch this our raincoat. So this is what it looks like. It's really beautiful. So you can see, you can open it from the upper part. It's going to open like a jacket, so you can see her school uniform inside. She came back from school and we were training, so we had to go get our raincoat. So it comes really handy. You can make it for your child, for your loved ones, and you can also turn it into a business. So till I see you in my next one, bye, love you.